From the best stealth planes to top-secret helicopters caught on tape, these are 7 abandoned and declassified black projects. Number 7. B-2 Spirit. Status: declassified. Let's start off our list with the ultimate heavy penetration stealth bomber. This airplane can complete missions at altitudes of 50,000 feet with a range of 6,900 miles without refueling. If there is a need for a refuel, those ranges jump up to 12,000 miles. Northrop Grumman, at the time it was just Northrop, finished designing this masterpiece of technology in the late 80s, and yes, it was insanely costly. This whole program cost $44.75 billion. The US Congress approved the purchase of only 21 from the proposed 132 units. The cost for each B-2 Spirit is $737 million. There have been only 2 serious accidents involving this plane, and the 2008 takeoff crash is the only one that ever destroyed a B-2 Spirit. The bomber has seen action in Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. We would not have known of the existence of the B-2 as early as we did if it wasn't for the 1980 presidential election. Reagan accused Carter of canceling the B-1 bomber because he did not care about defending the country. Reagan, however, obviously had no information about the B-2 at the time. So later on that year, the Carter administration released Department of Defense files that revealed the existence of the B-2. This might have been seen as a dumb political move, considering the paranoid levels of secrecy surrounding the research and development of the B-2. Multiple front companies were used to purchase the materials. Everybody that worked to refurbish the building that the plane was to be built in were sworn to secrecy, and even Congress had a very limited idea of the capabilities of the plane. Thomas Cavanaugh, a Northrop employee, was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for attempting to sell classified info to the USSR, but somehow he managed to be paroled in 2001. If you think this information was only valuable back then, check out the case of Noshir Govadia, a design engineer for the B-2. In 2010, he was sentenced to 32 years in prison for selling classified information. If you dream of being a B-2 pilot, be sure that your record and the records of everyone you associate with are squeaky clean. The extensive background checks are brutal, and the special access clearance is hard to come by. The US Air Force plans to keep the B-2 Spirit active until 2058, but that doesn't mean there aren't any new projects underway. The B-21 long-range strike bomber will, by all accounts, look very similar to the B-2, but I can't even speculate on the amount of futuristic tech it will have. Number 6. Bird of Prey. Status: retired. In 1992, Area 51's Phantom Works Division for Special Projects wanted to learn even more about stealth technology. With a cheeky reference to the Klingon Bird of Prey, the proof-of-concept aircraft was built by Boeing to see how far the boundaries of undetectable flight could be pushed. This was a full-scale black project. No one in the public space knew of the existence of this craft or the technology it utilized. The aircraft was completed in a very short amount of time, and the technology was transferred to UAVs like the Boeing X-45 and the Northrop Grumman X-47A Pegasus. Both of these UAVs had their official first flights after the declassification of the Bird of Prey in 2002. In total, the plane had 38 successful flights that provided crucial information for the advancement of the aforementioned UAVs. Perhaps the most intriguing quality tests performed were active camouflaging, aka freaking cloaking devices, y'all. No information has been given about the success or failure of these tests, which is not surprising. You can actually see the one and only model on display at the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Number 5. F-117. Status: retired. Lockheed produced 64 units of the secretive first stealth attack aircraft the world had ever seen. Its official first flight was in 1981, but the public didn't know of its existence until 1988. So these last 3 projects seem to be related to one another, right? A lot of overlapping research and development was involved, but always kept secret. Stealth technology became viable in the 70s. We were able to steer away from the conventional aerodynamic designs and start playing around with aircraft built to evade detection. The prototype technology for the F-117 came from the Have Blue proof of concept. Of course, everything was tested around Groom Lake, Nevada, aka Area 51. So if you saw some UFOs in the area back in '75, there's a good chance it was one of these aircraft. The Persian Gulf War of '91 was the perfect setting to display the abilities of the Nighthawk. Later on, it was used in Yugoslavia, where one F-117 was shot down and destroyed by a surface-to-air missile. It is believed Serbian forces handed over the downed airplane to Russia and China, thus revealing a 25-year-old tech secret. The F-117 Nighthawk was retired in April 2008, primarily in favor of the F-22 Raptor. Number 4. Lockheed A-12. Status: retired. When the CIA calls you up and asks you to build a successor of the U-2 high-altitude reconnaissance plane, what are you supposed to do? Lockheed's Skunk Works division was no stranger to top-secret government projects. The A-12 had a few variants like the YF-12 and the M-21, another twin-seater that had the capability of attaching a drone. At this point, it might be good to mention that the A-12 Ox Cart was requested by the CIA, and then Lockheed Martin convinced the US Air Force to start production and further research of the YF-12, which would later be known as Blackbird. More on that later. The reconnaissance aircraft project was very costly. Out of the 15 A-12s built, 6 were lost in accidents, and 2 pilots and an engineer lost their lives. The remaining aircraft are all on display. They can be found from Palmdale, California to an aircraft carrier docked in New York City. The most famous mission of the A-12 was the intelligence gathering over North Vietnam in 1967 and 68. Codenamed Black Shield, the miles of film the A-12 recorded over Vietnam provided crucial information about the status and capabilities of North Vietnam's military. By the end of 1968, the A-12 program was shut down and all the remaining planes were retired. Even though it had a very short-lived operational life, the A-12 is still seen as a giant success. The SR-71. Status: retired. The SR-71 was codenamed Blackbird because of its extraordinary jet black paint. It wasn't just a stylish choice either. The paint helped dissipate the immense heat created by traveling at Mach 3 speeds. We're talking about an average of 2,000 miles per hour. Colonel Jim Watkins from the US Air Force had this to say about the SR-71. The plane had no problem traveling coast-to-coast USA in 67 minutes, and to this date holds the records for the fastest and highest flying manned aircraft. And before everyone jumps on me about the X-15, that thing is more of a rocket than a plane, alright? From what I gather, the plane was decommissioned because of political reasons in the 1990s. It was then reactivated for a brief stint and quickly shut down again. Number 2. The future. In the future, we're looking at design proposals like the SR-72, which would be unmanned, and of course, the rumored SR-91, or as you might know it, Project Aurora. We also have the X-37, the mysterious space plane of the US Air Force. Is this the precursor of those space marines that the president was talking about? Probably not, considering it's a reusable unmanned spacecraft. The project originated in NASA back in 1999, but then in 2004, it was transferred to the US Department of Defense. By the way, this thing can chill in space for like 2 years. Its 4th mission started in May 2015 and finished in May 2017. These are some of the things we can only speculate on. What the real black projects of this generation are is not known yet. What kind of technology do you think the government is working on? Let me know in the comments below. Number 1. Stealth UH-60 Black Hawk. Status: unknown. The UH-60 Black Hawk has been a staple of US military helicopters since 1979. Over 4,000 units have been produced, and there is no immediate plans to retire the program. There are multiple variants, maybe multiple isn't the right word to be honest. You can see the list that Wikipedia has, quite extensive. While doing research for this video, I stumbled across this photo. At first, it looked very original and real. The more I looked into it, the more I realized that this was actually a prop from the movie Zero Dark 30. A lot of websites have accidentally or maliciously stated that these images were actually caught by bystanders. On the flip side though, a lot of people believe that the artist's interpretation of the stealth Black Hawk is pretty spot on. These were some of the more interesting abandoned and declassified projects that the public is aware of. I am sure that the extensive research into the future of military technology has never slowed down. I just hope we never have to use it. Check out the featured comment below, subscribe for more World and Earth, and I'll see you in the next video.